Hello, and welcome back to our study of the book of Mark. Today we're in Mark chapter 4, verses 21 through 25. And if these videos are a blessing to you, I'd love it if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video, share it with friends. I have videos in English and Spanish for whichever language you prefer. Let me read the passage today. It says, "He said to them, 'Do you bring in a lamp to put it under a bowl or a bed? Instead, don't you put it on a stand? For whatever is hidden is meant to be disclosed, and whatever is concealed is meant to be brought out into the open. If anyone has ears to hear, let him hear. Consider carefully what you hear,' he continued. 'With the measure that you use, it will be measured to you, and even more. Whoever has will be given more. Whoever does not have, even what he has, will be taken from him.'" And so we see here that Jesus is continuing on with the theme from what we talked about last time with the parable of the sower. And he talked about in that passage about he who has ears to hear, let him hear. And he talked about how Jesus was speaking in parables so that they would hear but not understand. And he said to the disciples, "How do you not understand this parable? Okay, I'm going to give you the explanation, but how do you not understand?" And then even in the parable, he talked about how the seed fell on different ground, and only the seed that fell on the good soil grew up and produced fruit. And the fruit that it produced was exponential, 30 times, 60 times, 100 times what was planted. So you have to relate what he just said here to what he had just said beforehand, because now he's talking about spiritual understanding. And I think he's relating us to the soil in this way, and the people who hear the word. We're the people who hear the word. And he says, if the light comes, it's not for you to put it under a bowl or under a basket. It's for you to put it on a lampstand. So the light has come into the world. That's another biblical passage, right? Jesus, the light of the world, he has come into the world. Jesus also said that just like Moses would raise up the bronze serpent, so the Son of Man would be raised up. He is not hidden. Jesus is not hidden. He's been raised up for all to see. When he hung on the cross, he rose from the dead. He's been raised up. And his light exposes the things that have been hidden. But not everybody has the ability to see. The light's here. Not everybody has the ability to see. The word is out there. Not everybody has the ability to hear. Now, what do we do with this? So Jesus says, consider carefully what you hear. So those who have the ability to hear now have to consider what they hear. Consider it carefully. And he says this, with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Now, he's not talking about measuring other people. He's not talking about judging. He's talking about a measure in the sense of like measuring out ingredients in a recipe. They would talk about a measure of flour, a measure of oil. So the more generously you invest in your recipe, the more you're going to get out of it. You're making cookies, you put more in, you get more cookies out. So what he's saying is this, as you're listening to God's word, listen carefully. The more you put in to listening, the more you put into investing, the more you're going to get out. In other words, if you have spiritual understanding and you work to develop that, you're paying attention to God, you're growing, and you're following and obeying what you've heard, you're going to get more. So the more you put in, the more you get out. And guess what? It's even more than, it's not just what you put in. If you put in, God's going to give you back out more than you put in. There's that exponential, that 30, 60, 100 times. So you put in your effort, the best you've got, great. God's going to bless that, but God's going to give you even more than what you put in. And there's that exponential growth. And so he's talking here about spiritual wisdom, spiritual understanding, that the more we listen to God, the more we pay attention to God's word, the more we apply God's word to our lives, the more we will get out of it as we go. And so that's a promise. But then there's also a warning. To he who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. So if you're not listening, the little bit of understanding you have, it's going to go. There is no in between. It's like if you're in a boat on a river, there is no staying still. You're either flowing downstream or you're working your way upstream, but there is no staying still because you're in a current. And it's like this in this spiritual understanding, it's a current. If you aren't working, if you aren't investing to make headway, you're just moving downstream. And that's the warning that you have spiritually. That if you aren't investing in understanding and gaining spiritual understanding and in following Christ, what little bit you have, it's just going to be taken away from you. You were blind, you're going to be more blind. You were deaf, you're going to be more deaf. But the more you pursue God, the more you pursue spiritual understanding, it's there. It's never been hidden. It's not secret. It's there to be found. He is the light of the world, and he is exposing all of the darkness to those who will see and listen. Thank you for listening. God bless you.